Hi! Within this section, we're going to see how to gather information from networks. And generally, you will need to be connected to the networks if you want to gather some information. But using monitor mode, we will see how to do that without even connecting to them. Because within the next section, we're going to see how to crack the passwords of network. Now, before doing that, we need some information to work onto. So within this section, we're going to see how to gather this information and how to work on them. So now, if you're ready, let's get started.
Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to see how we can gather information from the networks that we are not yet connected to. Okay? So we want to gather the password, we want to crack the password of some network, some router, and eventually we're gonna get to that part. But before we do that, we have to get information about that network, and AeroDumpNG is a tool that enables us to do that. Okay, so before we go on and run the AeroDumpNG, we are going to run AeromonNG in order to get into the monitor mode. As you might remember, we have to be in the monitor mode in order to sniff some packets, in order to sniff some information from the networks that we are not yet connected to. So we're going to do that, then we're going to run our new tool, and then we're going to stop this tool and analyze the results together. So I'm going to go back into my Kali machine, and of course I'm connected to my Kali machine with my USB Wi-Fi card and bridge adapter enabled. But first, let me give my password here and unlock this screen. So you have to open a terminal, of course, and have a clear page in here. So if I run iwconfig vlan o, you will see that I'm in currently the managed mode. So I have to go into the monitor mode by running airmon ng start wlan o. So this will put me in the monitor mode. If I run iwconfig wlan o right now, it will show me. If I just run ifconfig, it will be enough because I will see wlan o mon. Of course, you can confirm it by running iwconfig wlan o mon and not config but config. Okay, so as you can see, now I'm in the monitor mode. So if it doesn't work for you, you can use the alternative method that we have seen in the previous section as well. So let me run AeroDumpNG, and all you have to do is just run AeroDumpNG and say your interface name. So as you can see, now I have started to gather information about the networks that are around me right now. So my USB Wi-Fi card has a range, and it started to collect information from that range as long as it can get. So after a while, I will hit Ctrl+C on my keyboard in order to stop this process. A 30 seconds or a minute period will be enough for you to gather this data. Okay, so you have to hit Ctrl+C, then we can analyze this result in here. So let me take you through over these columns and the descriptions and what they mean. So we have BSSID first. So this is basically the MAC address of the router. Okay, so we see the MAC addresses of various routers in here. So I have my router here named Pulp Fiction, as you can see, and this is my information. So I'm going to go over that information in order not to go into other people's router, other people's information, because obviously I'm not allowed to go over the details of the other routers. So I'm going to focus on my router in here. So I have this power column in here, PWR, and it indicates the closeness of the router. So the bigger this number is, the closer the router is to my Wi-Fi card. And this is -36, so Pulp Fiction router is actually in my living room, and I'm in my living room as well, so it's very close. So I have beacons in here, so this is announcement packets that are sent by routers, and they send like 10 or 20 beacons per minute. So we have this number of useful packets in the router right now, and we have 0, and we have an important one in here. For example, this is the channel, and I'm in the 9th channel. So you can actually choose your own channel, and we're going to learn how to do that at the end of the sections in how to protect ourselves from this attack section. Okay, how to make our self section. And in here I'm in the channel 9, and for example, if you're living in a crowded area, you may want to change your channel in order to be effectively connected to the internet. Suppose you're getting your internet service from a certain provider, and most of the people in your area is getting that service from that same provider in your neighborhood. So you may want to choose a channel which is not common right now. As you can see, there are only 1 or 2 other people that are using the 9th channel right now. So I can switch to the 9th channel or 8th channel. So it would be better for me, it would be more effective for me to connect to the internet by doing so. So you have to find a channel which is no one is using, and you can switch to that channel for a better internet connection. And in here I have the encryption type, which is very important because we're going to configure our attacks according to that encryption. Right now I'm in the WPA2 encryption, and as you can see there are other types like WPA, and we're going to see the differences between this WEP, WPA or WPA2 encryptions, and we're going to see different kinds of attacks, different kinds of cracking techniques according to these encryptions. But you have to gather this information before you do your attack to the wireless networks. So right now I'm in the WPA2. I can change it whenever I want by going into the administrator page for my own router. And again, we're going to see how to do that in the Making Us Safer lecture. Okay, I'm going to adjust it to be WEP, WPA2 to show you different kinds of techniques. So this is very important. And of course, the last part is the ESSID, which is the name of our router. Okay, so mine is Pulp Fiction. You can choose your name. You can rename your router whenever you want. So this is the general information that we get from AeroDump-ng. We're going to stop here actually, and within the next lecture we're going to see how to gather information regarding only one specific router, one specific client at a one time. Hi, within this lecture we're going to see how can we focus our attack of AeroDump-ng into a one specific router. Okay, so within the previous lecture we gathered information about all the routers that are around us, but in this lecture we're going to focus on one specific router, and we're going to collect more information regarding that router. And of course there's a command to do that. As you can see, it looks like a pretty complicated command, but actually it's not. All we have to do is just specify the channel and the MAC address of that router. Okay, and if we want to write this file into a pcap file, and we're going to see what is that, and then later on analyze the results in a different tool, then we can do it with --write command as well. And of course we have to specify our interface, in this case as we do all the time. So it's WLAN OMON in my case, but if yours is named differently, then of course you have to write your own interface name. So actually, let me just close this down and go back to my Kali Linux machine in order to take you through this example. So we already have this, and we know what kind of client, what kind of router that we want to focus on. So in my case, it's my own router, which is Pulp Fiction. So I'm going to write aerodump ng one more time, but I'm going to give it more features, more inputs right now. So I'm going to say dash dash channel in order to specify my channel here. So as you can see, my channel is 9, and then I'm going to write my BSSID. So it's already in there, right? So all you have to do is just copy this value from here and paste it down in your comment. Later on, I'm going to say dash dash write in order to save this result into a file, okay? And we don't have to do that, but I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm going to save it to something called test1, and I'm going to explain it why I'm doing this after we run this command. And of course, I'm going to specify my interface as WLAN OMON. So as you can see, now we started to gather data. So upper side of this data is the same as before, right? We have this BSS ID of the client, of the router, and we have this power, we have this beacons, we have the data and channel and encryption model and everything as before. But we have this downside. So on the below panel here, we have the BSS ID again, and we have the station. So what is a station? So BSS ID is again the MAC address of our router, and station lists the MAC addresses of the devices that are connected to that specific router. So right now, even though you're not connected, even though you don't know the password of this router, you can see the connected devices. Of course, you can only see the MAC addresses of that devices, but it's enough for us right now. So we can see how many devices are actually connected to that router. We can see the MAC numbers of them, and we can see the power of them. Okay, so we can understand the closeness of the devices to that router. And we have this frames column in here. It indicates the packets that are going on from that station, from that device, so we can know which device is actively being used right now. And as you might remember, we have saved this result into a file called test. And I said that we are doing this so we can actually analyze it later on. So this is test1 for us. So first we have to find this test1 file. So I'm going to run ls test1 and put a star to the end of this, and for a reason I cannot make star in my keyboard right now, so let me try and find this star. Yeah, I believe I found it. ls test1 star. So it will show us all the extensions that test1 has in the current folder. So as you can see, we have this test1.cap, we have this test1.csv, and the other files as well. You can see the results from the CSV file by just catting into it, okay? So say cat tests1 CSV. So you see the results in here. But you may want to open the cap file as well. And if you type Wireshark and hit enter, it will pop open the Wireshark tool for you. So Wireshark is a tool in order to analyze these packets, in order to analyze flows going inside of a network. So you can just click on file here and say open and find your cap file and open it inside of your Wireshark tool. So it's test1.cap for me. If I say open, it will just open the file. Then I can analyze all the information that we gathered from that error dump ng command. So as you can see, this is much more detailed information. And we're going to learn how to use Wireshark in the following sections or following lectures. But for right now, you have to know that Wireshark is a tool used by network administrators. So we use Wireshark to oversee what is going on inside of network. So we can analyze these packets, we can analyze every information regarding to a network using Wireshark. And we're going to go into the details of this in the post connection section actually, where we try to gather password and username information from a user within the same network, even though we're not allowed to. So we will simulate a post connection attack, a network attack called man in the middle, and we're going to actually see the results of it and try to capture the password and username of a user of a victim by using Wireshark. But right now I'm going to just close it down because I just wanted to show you that if you save these files, if you save these results to a file, you can just open it and analyze them later on by going into the CSV or cap file. So we're going to stop here and we're going to learn something about denial of service attacks in the next lecture. Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to see how to de-authenticate people from a certain network. And by de-authenticating, I mean deconnecting them, okay? So making them lose their connection. So when we connect to a network, we get authenticated to that router. And we're going to de-authenticate them in order to make them lose their connection to that router. Okay, we're going to see how hackers actually disconnect you from a certain router, from a certain network, and we're going to see it in real-time examples. So there's a way, there is a tool to do that, of course, and it's called AirPlayNG. So it's fairly easy to do. All you have to do is just run this AirPlayNG with the authentication number of packets and by specifying the interface and the, of course, BSS ID of the router. So we can just do that in order to make someone disconnect from their network. And this is a very powerful attack, and of course there are some certain protections against this attack on the router, but most of the time this works and the hacker actually basically can disconnect a client from a network very easily. So if you do without giving any specifications of a target, the tool will try to disconnect every client on a router, but then it will lose its effect and it wouldn't be more efficient as focusing on one client. So if you try this with one device only, there is a very good chance that you will succeed. And if you try this with the router without specifying any clients, any devices, then it might succeed as well, but there is much less chance to do that. So let's not waste more time in here and go back to our Kali machine in order to test this attack. So I'm connected to my Kali machine with my USB Wi-Fi card and bridge adapter chosen as usual. So let me go here and give my password and then go to my terminal. So I'm going to need to run aerodumpng one more time in here because I need to get the device MAC addresses, right? So let me run aerodumpng, and this time we don't have to write this to a file, right? Because we don't need to analyze it later on. I'm just going to take the results in real time and have my deauthentication attack on this router. So of course, if you want, you can write again, but I'm not gonna do that because it may slow my process down. So let me delete this line here and hit enter in order to start this command. So this is the same command that we have run in the previous lecture. So now we are getting the station and BSSID columns in here. So we know the MAC addresses of connected devices. So if I say file open terminal from here, then I will get another terminal. So let me just make this one smaller and put it down. So I'm going to just take the values from above, so it's easier to see it that way. Because I'm going to run airplay-ng, I will have to specify the station MAC address along with the BSSID of router as well. So let me start by typing airplay-ng. So this is the name of that tool. And aerodump, airplay, and a tool called aircrack-ng are all connected, as you can understand right now. And we're going to see what is aircrack in the following lectures. So I'm going to go after my MacBook in here, and of course you cannot know which MAC address belongs to which devices at your house. I suggest you try to find a way to know the MAC address, or you can just go after one and see which one is disconnected. So I'm going to say airplay-ng and deauth as we have seen in documentation, and then I'm going to specify the number of packets that I want to send. So if you write something like 1000 or 10,000 in here, you're going to send a lot of packets and you're going to disconnect the user, and they will certainly know that they are disconnected. So sometimes you want to send some smaller packets like 5 or 10 in order to disconnect a user from the network and in order not let them know that they are disconnected. So there are reasons to do that, and we're going to see them in the following lectures. So later on, I'm going to say -a to specify the MAC address. Okay, so I'm going to copy this one and paste it in here. And then I'm going to say -c in order to copy and paste the client MAC address. And I believe by mistake I'm copying this twice. Okay, so let me paste it in here, and client C stands for client, so you have to copy the device's MAC address, and A stands for access point, so you have to copy here the router MAC address, and it's written in the BSSID column. So I'm going to copy this and paste in here. So you have to be careful with this one. A is for access point, C is for client. Okay, so after doing that, of course we have to specify our interface name. And once I hit enter, as you can see, it started to send deauthentication packets. So right now, as you can see, I'm getting these frames in here. So this station belongs to my MacBook, and I'm getting in here, getting these frames in here. And actually at this point, even though we can see the station in the list, my MacBook got disconnected from the network. And even though it seems like it's connected, it cannot go to the internet. So we will see that we're getting on and off from this authenticated list in the AeroDump NG. Even though we are on the list, it won't work for me because I'm getting constant packets from the constant packets from AirPlay in here. Of course, at this point, I cannot prove to you that I'm disconnected and I cannot connect to the internet, but let me stop here actually. And within the next lecture, I am going to de-authenticate my MacBook, my host machine, in order to show you that this is actually working. And of course, you have to try this on your own with your own devices so that you can confirm this and see that this is working in real life examples as well. And as I said before, there is no way to understand which MAC address belongs to which device at this point, but you can go for them anyway. You can choose one of them and try to disconnect them anyway and try it on your own house. So let's stop here and do that in the following lecture. Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to attack on our own MacBook or our own host machine in order to confirm that this de-authentication attack actually works and try to understand that if we get disconnected really from the network. So let me go into the YouTube and let me run some videos or some music in order to confirm that I have some internet connection, and as you can see I have one. So if I go to my Kali Linux and let me just try to make this a little bit bigger, or let me place this here. I'm not going to take this into a full screen mode because we may want to check on that YouTube thing once in a while. So let me call this AeroDump NG and I can see my BSSID and my station list right now. So of course I know my own MAC address. You can get yours too from running ipconfig or ifconfig depending on your own host machine. And the other way to do that is actually run some videos, run some files, and have some internet activity going on your own host machine and try to spot the frames going up in here. So as you can see, I have started my YouTube video and now I see the frames going up in this station. So I believe this belongs to my MacBook. So I'm copying it and I'm going to replace the client MAC address with that one. So let's go over here and delete this client here, okay? And I'm going to paste this MAC address to here. And once I send these de-authentication packets, as you can see, I have frames and lost frames going up increasingly in here. So if I go back to my YouTube and try to connect to the internet, as you can see, it doesn't work for me, even though it's still trying to connect to the internet, and even though I think I'm connected to the internet at this point, actually I'm not. I cannot benefit from this connection, and even I lost my connection at this point. So this really works. You can try this on your phone, you can try this on your host machine or other computers or other devices in your own house. So let's stop here, and within the next lecture we're going to see how to decrypt the passwords of these routers and networks.
Hi! Now you know how to gather relevant information from the networks using monitor mode. Now we're going to use this information that we gathered in this section and we're going to work on cracking the passwords of networks within the next section. So now if you're ready, let's move on to the next section and do that.